Hey everybody, Doug here from 2 Plus Tough, and I am just chilling. We're gonna have a good discussion because holy crap, a lot of stuff came out this weekend, and I just want to talk about it. So, what I would like to do, just take a minute, I'm gonna stall here just for a second. If you are in the chat, you can just tell me if you can hear and see me okay, and then we're gonna hop into the news. And so, if you don't know, you've been traveling, as is the way with these things. Basically, there was a big convention in over in the UK where it was Warhammer Fest, which is like their big Games Workshop exclusive event to do all kinds of stuff. So you meet Black Library authors, you can meet the painting studio. Just a cool, like, I don't know, expo on this is Games Workshop, everything to do with it. And so, okay, great. Thank you so much, everyone in the chat saying I'm coming through loud and clear. Awesome. So, and from that, they also unveiled quite a few new releases coming out. Let me adjust my mic here. And I'm excited to talk about them. There's a lot going on. So let's head over. Let me make sure this is working right. It is. Okay. And it's been a little while since I did a live show because good gravy. Slanesh Week has kept me busy as all get out. So we'll go through this here. And so this is, so you know, whenever there is a event or something like that, anymore, the community team will put one article up and then just kind of keep adding to it. So we're actually going to be looking at these from the most recent thing going backward in time. So yeah, so we'll talk all about these things. And they say goodbye. Here's the winner of the Slayer Sword, which is he is the painter amongst all painters. And we'll talk more about the significance of this picture here, but there is Duncan. And it just looks like a great time. I'm just going to look at these pictures. Everyone looks like they're having a blast. They do dioramas and part of it is there's workshops to show you how like they build dioramas and that kind of stuff. I just love it. Someday I wish to go to one. But yeah, anyway, let's back out of there. Pictures are all great. But first up announcement, this doesn't really affect me, but if you are a popular painter, you know, and someone who that is like your craft, the Golden Demon is kind of the premier GW painting competition by them. Hello, Digital Keegan. Hello, everybody else. We're all hopping in chat here. And so this is more for people who like can't read the articles, whether their work keeps them from it or they just don't enjoy reading. Talking about the stuff. So Golden Demon is a big deal painting competition, and it was in the US and then it went away, if I understand correctly. And it was just in over like in Nottingham where they actually do Warhammer Fest, that kind of stuff. And now it's coming back. So there's going to be 2 Golden Demons. So Adepticon is probably a pretty rightful place if they're going to have any. Let's see here. And this is the winner. And I just love it. Fantastic paint job. Looks like it got pulled out of a painting. It's just insane. I'm scrolling down here. And so, of course, this is an AOS focused channel. I'm going to be generally scooting past a lot of the 40k and Horus Heresy stuff. But a side note that I have been following the lore for the Horus Heresy, like the big campaign books that they've been putting out. And so I am very, very excited for the next one that's coming out. They kind of gave us some models that are in support of that. And I'm excited. They also today, finished up talking about the licensing. And so there is the game Chaos Bane, which is sort of like Diablo if you're a computer gamer. But it's going to have the Warhammer Old World theme, which I would be willing to play for sure. Talked a little bit about Age of Sigmar Champions, the card game, as well as Chaos and Conquest, which to my understanding is a base building like mobile game. Which there's many of those, but some people really, really like them. So that's awesome. Rerolling Ones Jack over on Rerolling Ones, they just hit 9,000 subscribers, so you should go totally watch their channel. I'm going to breeze through here. They're kind of just doing the wrap-up thing, so they're taking pictures of stuff that I want to talk about in more detail. I would always like to go sit and hang out with the illustrators and the book writers. That'd be amazing. All right. So now we're getting into the stuff where there is actual news. If you're a Middle-earth player, there's some cool stuff for you. All 20 of you. Okay, here we go. So, Warhammer Age of Sigmar preview. So the first thing they said was, Hey everybody, the General's Handbook is coming in June, so we just have a month left until the General's Handbook drops on us at some point in June, anyway. And they kind of give us some cool hints and information about what is in there, and so I want to explore those and really have a good chat about them. And so I'm just going to read it because, like I said, this is for people who don't like to read these kinds of things. So this year's Essentials Guide for Gaming in the Mortal Realms is packed with content for every kind of player. For open play, a new open war army generator means you'll be able to rally your forces in a moment, while close quarters battles, hidden agendas offer fresh challenges for you to get your teeth into. So open play has, I like this. So right now we have an open war battle plan generator, but this would dictate the kind of armies you're fighting with, and I think that is neat. The idea that having thematic defender and attacker forces, I don't know, all that kind of stuff. I'm excited to see what that means. I'm not sure what close quarters battles means. I'm trying to think about that one. Close quarters battle. Maybe it's like different battle plan like deployments like that, where your people just rush at each other. There's a big emphasis on melee, and facilitating specifically melee happening would be really cool. And hidden agendas. So yeah, I dig it. And Digital Keegan says, me too. We exclusively play open play and only use points as a balancing guide. We're stoked. Yeah, and that's we play with points, and we use the like the army design, like 3 battle line and 1 hero, that kind of stuff. But generally speaking, like we love open play missions and narrative missions specifically. So yeah, they mentioned close quarters was like underground. Okay. Well, that means like on a battle plan level or an army creation level. For narrative players, you'll be able to get stuck with an in-depth set of rules for fighting in the cities of the mortal realms, in the streets of death. New mercenary companies will allow you to add a selection of narrative-led thematic units to your army. Perhaps you'll employ the man-eaters of the gut-busters or gut-stuffers. Gut-stuffers. Interesting. Is that new? Gut-stuffers. Or a Gargant from the notorious Grug brothers. Meanwhile, characterful name generators for loads of factions mean you'll never be with an appropriately epic. You'll never be without, I think is what I was supposed to say, an appropriately epic moniker for your favorite hero. Okay, small grammatical error there. Anyway, so Streets of Death is, I'm assuming, their city fight type thing, which I am stoked about because, you know, the what do you call it? The siege rules were really cool in theory, but I feel like they didn't always have the best terrain to help us kind of imagine that. You could always make your own, of course, but fighting in the cities, I think, to complement the new terrain which is coming out, which we could talk about as well here pretty soon, is super cool. Name generators, that is going to be a hefty section because there's a lot of different kinds of armies with different kinds of names. And the mercenary company, which people were so frankly annoying about, the idea like the game is broken now because now we're doing cross Grand Alliance. It's going to be a narrative thing. Don't worry about it. It's going to be fun. I think that's awesome. What I will say is these two things, open play and narrative play, I'm sorry, they sound exciting. If I'm being perfectly honest, the current General's Handbook we have now is a matched play oriented book. I feel like the first one was very much a narrative oriented book, whereas this current iteration is very much about matched play. Nothing in the narrative or open play section that really gripped me, other than the fact that they gave us the open war cards for free, basically, is what that comes out to be. But the open war army generator, whatever close quarters battles is, and Streets of Death, like all those things are big ways to separate narrative and open and matched play, and I think that's exciting. So I don't know, this is just shaping up to be just a much more interesting General's Handbook than I think the one we have right now. And then going into match play, it won't just be receiving new battle plans, but rather a whole new way to play, aimed at making smaller games viable for tournaments and competitive events. Balanced around the 1,000 point mark, meeting of engagements offers key twists on normal Warhammer Age of Sigmar gameplay, is fast to play and takes up a smaller space. So that is huge. I'll be honest with you, like I'm more excited about this book than I was our current General's Handbook or the second one, because there was 1, 2, and then second edition came out with the new one, the current one. Yeah, I don't know. I'm very excited. So we have the 1,000-point, but the idea is like balancing the game around a 1,000-point thing is super cool. I'm very excited about that. Tournament templates, I'm kind of curious about that, but that sounds interesting. I'd be interested in that because heck, I want to run an event here in my local area. So yeah. And then yeah, just new battle plans, all kinds of, it's all great. I like the fact, I hope they give us all new battle plans so there's value in keeping your current one. I think that's kind of important. But yeah. So that is the General's Handbook 2019, and it's a cool looking book too. Little cover art. It's pretty. I like the darkness they're going for. One thing I do find interesting is that they have the General's Handbook, but the pitched battle profiles is a separate document. Like I'm sure you're going to buy them together, obviously, but I'm very, very interested in that. So, yeah. So moving into the next bit of news is about Warcry. And so if you don't know, Warcry has been touted as being like a skirmish version of Age of Sigmar, but better than skirmish in every single way. Something more akin to Kill Team or Necromunda. Sorry, got a hair in my mouth. But we haven't seen all the details yet. And what I will say at the top of this is they previewed some pretty cool stuff. It looks like a fun game. But the problem is we don't know anything about how it plays. Like we still don't. So I'm getting tired of the previews and I just want to see something more concrete. They did this cool trailer of like live action fighting as the Warcry bands they have. I won't play the music because it'll blow your ears out, but they have this new war band they showed us. The first one were the Iron Golems, the second one were the Untamed Beasts, and now this is the third one, the Splintered Fang. And so I'll pull some of the pictures up here. Whereas I'm assuming the first two are much more about brutality and probably different kinds. I'm assuming Iron Golem is more defensive but brutal, and then the Beast one is more like offensive, like getting there, being vicious like an animal. These seem to be more focused on maybe like dirty tricks. And when I think of these animals, I think of like poisons and toxin effects and that kind of stuff. If you're a fan of the more seductive, civilized side of chaos, or you're looking to conquer Warcry through dirty tricks and judicious use of poison. So look at this guy wrapped up in snakes. That is so stinking cool. Yeah, if you didn't catch it, this is actually an elf, which is interesting because the Iron Golems have a Dwarden. The Untamed Beast have some monsters with them. I don't think there was like a alternate humanoid thing. I didn't see one, but I could be wrong about that. But yeah, this warband looks incredible. I love the helmets on all of them. If you didn't see it in the last preview with Warcry, the angle they're going with is that no longer are Chaos factions going to be just the bad guy. And their design hope is to give intricate backstories and settings for each one of these armies to make them more lively, and so you have a reason to care. Like there's a reason that they're different, there's a reason that they fight for different things, and I'm excited about it. So the idea is to show you the different flavors of chaos, how diverse it can be, and diverse in motivations but also in tactics. And so so we have an elf wielding what I assume is poison daggers because of the green hint. We have Snake Man. It's just his name, I'm going to call him. We have this guy with the trident, which is just like, when I think of this, I want to do like Steve Carell's head as a model, like from Brick from Anchorman, when he's like, yeah, I killed a guy with a trident. So anyway, so I think that's kind of cool. Again, it's a lot of previews. I'm not the biggest fan of this guy's. I love the snake, both snakes. I want to see the front view of this guy's face because he kind of looks bucktooth, but there's supposed to be like viper fangs on his helmet. So I don't know. Let's see here. Poison Snake guy seems to be using lawn darts. Yes, he is. Absolutely using a giant lawn dart. Let's see here. It is definitely a mask pop. it's 100% a mask. You can see like the metal above it. I'm just hoping that like when the model is on the table, right? Imagine looking down from this angle. Are you going to see the mask part underneath the hood, or are you just going to see Bucktooth Billy over there with two snakes? Which is kind of how I imagine like those like snake charmers like in Florida and Louisiana, like I don't know, in the bayous. Anyway, enough offending people. The other thing was talking about Underworlds, and so if you play Warhammer Underworlds, that started off with Shadespire, and then it went to Night Vault. There is going to be a, what do they call it? Well, they're calling it Season 2, but I would imagine this is Season 3, right? It's hard to believe Warhammer Underworlds isn't even 2 years old. The game is in a fantastic place with loads of warbands, hundreds of cards, making a thriving Warhammer Underworld scene across the world. Having just seen the last 2 warbands for Season 2, yes, so this is now Season 3, okay. Let's see here. No idea what it's called, but they gave us this spoiler of this lion thing, and basically just said like, what is it? We got our first look at one member of an all-new warband, and are none wiser about the faction they look to hail from. So it looks cute, though. Any guesses? So I'm looking at this thing, and my first initial thought is, was it the Lion Rangers? Is that what they are? Like the White Lions of Trace from the High Elf faction? Those models are still around. Maybe it is a faction bringing them forward, and so these are the White Lions, I don't know, pet or something like that. That'd be kind of cool. I don't know. I definitely like the color palette they've used definitely matches a lot of the stuff they've done from the Realm of Light, Hish, which is awesome because we need to see something more from that. So I got when I say that, I'm quoting the Beast of Chaos book. They had Gore and Ungor from Hish, and it looked like the skin was uncanny like this. So Jack says it looks like a Pokemon, which I can't argue. It kind of does. If it was just like Lionar, the Pokemon, and maybe its evolved form as a Chimera, right? It's got the same tail, like it turns into a scorpion tail, kind of a lion thing going on. I dig it. So it definitely looks elven. My guess is something to do with some form of what used to be high elves, possibly the White Lion type folks. Yeah. And so those are the main Age of Sigmar things. Let's take a look here what else came out. Blood Bowl, if you're into that at all. There's a football player? Yeah, Dryad star player who could easily be a pretty awesome plastic branch witch or something like that. That'd be kind of nice. She's cool looking. And then moving on, a lot of stuff for Necromunda. They got their time in the sun, and Titanicus as well. Part of the thing is people were a little negative on the, I wanted more to come out for Sigmar, 40k, or that kind of stuff. The thing is, now they're getting to the point where they have so many game systems going on that everyone's going to get a little something. And that's cool. I mean, frankly. So it started off with 40k, and there were some cool stuff. I'm going to go to the bottom here and then come back up. Ooh, actually, I want to talk about this. You know what? I should have planned this better. I'm just going to talk about whatever I want to talk about. Let's see. We'll go back up because I don't want to skip this. Okay, yeah. So Titanicus. Never got into Titanicus at all. It just, the cost of entry is just not there, and I don't have the nostalgia factor for what it was before. We got some cool stuff. Like I said before, I don't play Horus Heresy, but I do follow the story arcs through the independent characters. If you have any interest in the Horus Heresy whatsoever, go listen to the Independent Characters podcast. They review the Horus Heresy, like the huge, thick campaign books, and they do a great job, and it's absolutely fun to listen to every single time. So yeah, looking at the Horus Heresy stuff coming out in support of that book. They got a new ship for the Custodes. That's kind of cool. And if you do play Horus Heresy, they're adding demons to it. So there will be some new demon models coming out from Forge World. And here's the thing about that. I'm curious because a lot of those demons can be used in, like the demons they have on Forge World tend to be able to be used in AOS and 40k. So I wonder if these could also ever be used in AOS. Like they just seem really stinking out there. I'm not sure if I like them. They almost seem more like cartoony, but I love the paint job for sure. Like the blue and the reds together, they just look fantastic. So I don't know. It is possible. So if you are a demon player or a chaos player, I'd be interested to see if these are things that can work for our armies. They're talking about 40k Apocalypse. I have no idea how it functions, but part of me wishes it worked just like the, what do they call it? What do they call the Apocalypse versions of AOS? I can't remember what it's called now. But yeah, got some AdMech vehicles coming in hot. This thing looks like straight out of D-Day lander. Sam Cook says more demons are always welcome. I agree. And Chaos Knights looking cool. Guy says they'd be stupid to not have AOS rules for them. I tend to agree. The last thing, and part of the thing I really wanted to touch on here towards the end, I wouldn't mind talking and daydreaming more about the General's Handbook, but another huge thing that got released or mentioned was the new contrast paints. And if you haven't seen the promotions for it, it started off with a mock 50 Shades of Grey commercial where he had like his, quote unquote pleasure room, and it was just wall to wall of gray models. And so the idea being there, like, okay, this is obviously going to be some product that helps us get models painted faster. And then they had, the Matrix, where Peachy was Morpheus and offered you the blue or red pill to like go deeper into the rabbit hole. And then they had a Conan the Barbarian one where Duncan was Conan and said that having your models painted was the best thing. So my favorite was the 50 Shades of Grey one. It was just good. But if you don't know, so Contrast is what the paint line is called. It is quite a large paint line, as you can see by this picture here. Actually, I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. Herpa. Oh, this is actually a nice photo. It's pretty big. So what it is a lot of hard work went into finding the right viscosity of paint, I mean the thickness of it, how easily it runs with, without bunching up, pooling, or streaking, if it's too thin. Also, the amount of pigment that they put into that medium, okay? And so the idea is, instead of doing 2 thin coats for every single color, and then on top of that having to do a wash and a highlight and all that kind of stuff, basically the entire GW paint system, the idea is you do what they say is 1 thick coat. It is literally 1 paint that you can put onto a model, and it will pull in the recesses, and it will kind of break apart on the raised edges. Therefore, you will have your base color, your shade, and even the faintest bits of a highlight on top of that. And so this is just a picture showing you the wide variety of paints they have here. And so the idea being, you will prime the model, I think they did a white or a Shabtu bone, and then paint with the contrast colors on top of that. Now, to get you a sense of what that looks like, they did, I didn't realize I was zooming in on thing. Where is that picture they had? Here we go. So I have this picture here comparing the two. So on the top, you have the traditional, you do your base colors, you give it a wash with the shade, and then they say technical, which is basically just, in this example, it is adding the texture paint on the bottom. And the one down below is using the new contrast system, which is you prime it white, you paint the blue parts blue. What I'm assuming is the trim is there's a gold one, and they get it to what it's called battle ready. Now, Will C just in the chat brought up my first kind of thing is they still use the same pots. I hate the current pots so much. I love their products. I love the paint. I've tried other paint companies and I've tried deviating. I'm just not a fan of the paint pots, but I love their paints so much. They just are very reliable to me. In addition to that, what what's interesting is we're looking at this picture on the bottom, right? And that's supposed to be our I don't know what these things are, the result that we can get. No, never mind. Not working for me. If you look at the top one, right, which is the classic method, they're calling it, the top one has no fine highlight. It is just the blue, the shade, and the technical, like it says. If you look at the battle ready, he puts on the battle ready stuff, and if you look, there's a strong highlight, like an edge highlight to this stuff that I just don't believe comes from the contrast paint. So I don't know. It kind of seems like they made this one a little bit prettier, frankly. Maybe to make it seem like it won't be a drastic difference in quality. Here's what I think, honestly. I think these paints are going to be awesome for Horde army owners, where you can just batch white prime a whole bunch of Skaven and then get them to a very reasonable paint standard easily with the lowest possible barrier to entry in terms of like the number of paints and that kind of stuff. I think that is a win no matter what. There were some people who were, I don't want to say afraid, but concerned that, not even concerned. This is even dumber than that. People who are upset that, I learned how to paint this way and I put a lot of work into my collection and I'm just going to go to an event and see a whole bunch of crappy models. Crappy meaning they just got pretty much dunked in this stuff. And I don't think that's fair. I think if someone goes through the work of painting them 3-color minimum, does the best that they can, everyone's playing with cool painted models. And I think that's awesome. So and the pictures that they showed, the examples, if you watch the video that was there, I will play and I will mute it right at the end. Yeah, let's see if I can blow this up. So right here, he's showing off, these are examples of, let me see. So for an example, he's painting a Skaven, which is exactly the kind of model I think this is perfect for. And there's a Chaos Demon. So I think, for the most part, these are going to be really good paints. I think they're going to be somewhere between like a glaze and a wash. And I think they're going to help a lot of people get painted stuff quicker. That being said, I think what's great about them is that they're going to be easy to improve upon. And by that I mean, like for this exact demon right here, right? You do the whole thing in red, obviously, and then you can do the weapon and the horns in black and that kind of stuff. But then if you went back later and did like a wash to these little like spine things on the shoulder and on the leg, you could add some real definition to it and make it even better. My point being that like you raise the standard of how easy it is to have painted models, right? It is now easier, yay, to have a painted army by lowering the bar of how many things you need to have that happen, how many paints you have to have, how many pieces of equipment, that kind of stuff. So like, I think we're going to see more painted armies. And I think people who put in the real work to go above and beyond, more than just the battle ready type thing. That's their term, is battle ready. I think are just going to stand out, and I think everyone wins. What I do think is interesting, in addition to that though, is they've created, and if this is assuming it works, if the paint system works exactly like they say it does, one coat, done. You know what I mean? And it's pretty much that simple. I think about other games where painting is not encouraged as much as with GW. So think about like War Machine and Hordes. They don't, at least when I was still playing it, they did very little to encourage the hobby aspect of the game. But if you wanted to win one of their big events, you had to have a painted army. So something like this, for people who enjoy competitive games that aren't really into painting, giving them a one-stop, hey, here's how you can meet your requirements, super easy, super simple. I think that sets them up as a good place in the market. Market meaning like all miniature war games, not just their products. So I think about that kind of stuff too, or it's like, the only people who buy Citadel paints are not just AOS and 40K players, they're modelers. They're people who play other miniatures games, that kind of stuff. And I think that's really cool. At the end of the day, I want to see more painted models. they made the joke in my friends group that like, I'm going to be unstoppable with this because now I can already paint fast and I'm just going to be painting faster and faster and faster. The truth of the matter is, like, I'm going to get them to experiment with them and check out this color line, which I am very, very excited about. Actually, I had it over here, didn't I? Yeah, I did. But even just looking at this, I'm not sure every color, like I don't think every color is the same. I'm not sure the yellow is going to be the strongest. Just by that little picture up there. And what I did hear from several people, so they had the contrast paints on display for you to practice with at Warhammer Fest. And what I heard from people on Twitter who had experimented with them, like hands-on, is the same kind of feedback that I heard when the Night Haunt paints. So you know those two Night Haunt paints, the Gloom and the kind of more neon green one. When those came out, yes, it looks like you just smother it all over the model, but all of them said, no, there's a slight learning curve. It doesn't move like a normal paint. You have to get better about how you draw it to crevices and things like that. So there is still going to be a learning curve. I think the results that we see that they have, like that super baller looking Space Marine, I think that is going to be very non-typical at first. Yeah, this guy. Like, I don't think that's going to be typical at first. I think the ones that we saw where people just started trying things, they were like very, very dark and very little definition. I think they put it on too thick. And so we'll just have to see. Hexwraith Flame, thank you so much. Yes, it was the Gloom and the Hexwraith Flame. So, but you know, those were also paints that, like, yes, you look at them and you could just slather your model in it and it wouldn't look bad. It just wouldn't look the same as like the box art, you know, for Night Haunt. Whereas these, I think they're gonna be very similar, where it's like you could slather it on there, but if you want like the effect to make it look like it does in that picture, you're gonna have to learn a little bit. So yeah. Mogwai Man said he saw a picture of a Savage Orc model. I did see that one as well. I tried to find it right before I started and I just couldn't. But you know, he looks like an orc. The skin is kind of very powerful green. I mean, I like the more olive type green, but yeah, it was good stuff. So, Dai says, I feel like those ghost paints were an early test for this line. Could be. It definitely could be. But here's the thing. I'm going to get them, at least some of them, the ones that I would, you know, normally use. Certainly the ones for the Skaven, right? I think that would really help me get over my wall that I hit with painting rats. But I'm going to wait until I have, because you know they're going to have that full line of video series of like, here's how you use this, right? They have videos over every other kind of paint. So when the series comes out on contrast paints, that's when I'm gonna jump into that. Tyler Miller says, if I recall correctly, Vince Ventrella was saying that it was meant to be used really thin like a glaze. Yes, that is my understanding as well. I didn't hear that from Vince, but I do trust him because of his painting godlike powers. So and that's kind of the sense that I get. The ones that looked kind of crummy that were coming out of Warhammerfest, you can definitely tell like, oh, this is on there thick. And so you get the idea of like, I know it's not supposed to look like that, but I don't know what it's supposed to look like. And so I think it is supposed to be a very, very thin thing, which is kind of problematic when your art is this, which is just like, it looks like some guy got hit by the fire hose from UHF, if you guys have ever seen that movie. So, but yeah, you know, here's the thing is like, this is just, it's a tool, right? No one, for example, if I was painting Primaris Space Marines, I like the way that blue came out. Let's assume that it came out exactly like that with the contrast paint. I would do the blue like that, and then I would do whatever else I wanted on everything else. I would probably do Retributor Gold on the trim. You know what I mean? Like, my point being is, if you start using this, you don't have to stick to it. You can do the contrast paint and you can add a wash or a glaze or a base paint afterwards. Like, you can do whatever you want. So, I mean, I think it's going to be Just another tool in the toolbox, and it helps people who don't like painting play with painted models in a cool way. So let's see what else. Yeah, that's pretty much it for the news. Everything else was just kind of already there. So Di says, I think the Prime is a major contributor. Yeah, here's the thing. So what they showed us was you basically prime your model white or Ushabti bone, I believe, were the two sprays they had, and then you do these things over that. However, if you get tricksy with it and you do what's called a zenithal highlight, which I don't know why it's called that, but the way my buddy does it is he primes them with a rattle can gray and then blue tacks them up, holds the thing up, and then sprays white over it. So basically the idea being they're primed everywhere, but from the top down has kind of a lighter hue, picks up color more, makes a natural highlight. That's how you'll get those colors to really sing to you. So yeah. So this was actually a super big event for 40K and 30K. For AOS, I have a theory, and Jack from Rolling Ones shared in it as well. See, there wasn't that much stuff for AOS proper. The only AOS thing we have is the General's Handbook. The other thing is Warcry, which is going to be a separate game system. My thought, and Jack said the same thing without being prompted, it was just that we wondered if the Sylvaneth, the preview art was meant to be for Warhammer Fest, but it got out early, and GW, being as awesome as they are, jumped on that rumor and made that funny video, basically saying like, we're just not ready to share a whole bunch of stuff about it. But I wonder if the Sylvaneth was supposed to be debuted here, and that would make sense. It would fit. All these other games have major releases associated with them. We have the General's Handbook and paints. So yeah, and I'm in Cold Shoulder. I'm going to jump to that article in just a second. So wrapping up this preview, I'm super excited about the General's Handbook, more than I've been excited about the majority of the other ones because of the nature of these things in here. So let's go check out. Oh, wait. I'm just going to go here. Forbidden Power. So I have lots of thoughts. I have many thoughts on the Forbidden Power without knowing really what it is. First of all, this picture is super cool. We got a Star Drake in the top corner. We got, looks like a screaming bell right there. Yep, that's definitely a screaming bell, which is Skaven. I love this. This is legit. And there's just tons of terrain. So 2 things are going up for pre-order next week. Forbidden Power, which is an expansion to the game. We're going to talk all about that. And then also the new set of terrain coming out. And so these are both 2 big things that I want to cover. So Forbidden Power. In the wake of the Necroquake, Sigmar's storm vaults have been revealed. Arcane repositories created to seal away artifacts of terrible power from an age long past. Armies have mustered from across the mortal realms to claim these forbidden relics, while in Shyish, the great necromancer gathers his strength for the next stage of the Soul Wars. And so I'm gonna make a guess. Okay. When we look at this set, we get the box, obviously. We get some new endless spells, which we'll talk about here in a second. We get a booklet, which has some lore and a set of battle plans in it, and then a whole bunch of game aids, okay? And so just remember all those things come in there. So the 88-page Forbidden Power book tells the battle for the Midnight Tomb as the spectral armies of Nagash lay siege to the free city of Lethis, seeking to break into the Grand Storm Vault hidden beneath its streets. In addition, you will find new rules for recreating the armies that fought for Lethis, for fighting battles in the grim region of Shyish known as Stygics. Now, if I'm not familiar, Stygics is important because that was in Nagash Undying King, I believe. And for playing campaign to conquer multiple storm vaults hidden across the mortal realms to capture powerful relics within. So we have a campaign system, we have a narrative battle plan, right, to recreate the armies that fought there, and endless spells. So there's something for every faction in the books, no matter which grand alliance you fight for or the deity you serve. Your army can fight for the right to loot the forbidden storm vaults too. In addition to that, you get to the rules and background. The expansion includes a new piece of scenery, which is this Sigmar looking thing right here, the penumbral engine, and 4 new endless spells in the form of the Soul Scream Bridge, Horror Ghasts, Shards of Valagar, and Lochin the Soul Seeker. This set also includes War Scroll cards for each one of the endless spells, that kind of stuff. And they show you the cool stuff. So let's break this down a little bit. I want to talk about Forbidden Power separate from the terrain. So, like I said, Forbidden Power, you get endless spells, which I think this falls somewhere in between Malign Sorcery on one end of the spectrum and Malign Portents. If you remember, Malign Portents was sort of like it's kind of puffed up, but it didn't really end all that fun. Campaign, I actually have it right down here. Let's see. Oh, wait. Nah. I do, right here. Yeah. It was kind of like a narrative addition to the game where you could basically recreate battles that are taking place as the world is kind of falling apart right before Nagash unleashes the Necroquake. Everyone's having weird dreams and that kind of stuff. It was a alternate way to play Aid. It wasn't new like units and that kind of stuff. And then Malign Sorcery was just an expansion to the game. Everyone got endless spells. Everyone can take them if you have a wizard, that kind of stuff. So I think this falls somewhere in between where you get a few endless spells, not as many as Malign Sorcery, but it does come with a lot of game aid stuff for... it did mention campaign play, which is awesome because Firestorm didn't really take off, I think, the way it should have. And also singular narrative battles, that kind of stuff. So I'm pretty excited about that. You know, and I'll be honest with you, like, they've been hitting us so hard and fast with battle tomes lately that I would not mind a week off to, like, paint stuff and just chill. Actually, that's what I'm going to do this week, but... I don't know. So I'm not, I'll be honest, I'm not super excited about it. Part of it is because they with the build up to Malign Sorcery, right, in second edition and the Rise of Nagash and Soul Wars and all stuff like that, they did this whole thing where there's a bunch of stories to build up that something crazy is happening. We knew something was going on, but there's a lot of mystery built around it. What those little videos meant, we had no idea. With this, it's like, and we're continuing the story, but there's no direction on like what that means, where we're going. Like, it's just hard to get excited for because I don't feel like they've gotten me excited. You know what I mean? That effort wasn't put in to get me excited the way that it was for Malign Sorcery. This kind of just seems like another thing. So I'm hoping that it comes out and I fall in love with the campaign system. Frankly, I think we need more campaign systems. So that would be really, really neat. Yeah. So let's see here. And then the spells themselves look brilliant. You know, this is your piece of terrain up here, the Penumbral Engine. But then you have the bridge, which, I mean, it's just the coolest looking thing. I can see that being used for conversions in like Flesh Eater Quartz armies for like, yeah, if you're going to build like a diorama kind of thing. Look at that. The idea being everyone can use, as you can tell, they're all death themed. Something happened to where now everyone can use death themed things. So that's kind of a cool idea. So I'm not quite sure how it's going to manifest, but yeah. Now the next big thing that's coming out for pre-order next week are the Dominion of Sigmar. This is the modular terrain set they had mentioned they were going to do, and I could not be more excited for it. I did that whole video about AOS as a terrain problem, and of course this comes out and makes me look like a total fool. And I'm just very, very excited because it's pretty. It's just pretty looking. Now, one concern I do have is how sharp the edges are, meaning having models stand up there. I'm not saying that, like, you know, obviously if we're playing with friends, we can always say, like, you know, while we model, this is where it's supposed to be. I just like it when things can stand on the edge, that kind of stuff. But that's a minor detail at best. Yeah, I'm curious to see like what comes in it. So if you can't tell, these sections, there's a little bit of a line right there. They break apart and you can either make a square or a rectangle like that or a circle. And you can see like the line going straight down the center there. And so with that, you can create modular designs out of these things. and it's really, really cool. So I'm going to grab a set because I think it's awesome. I'm going to make it match the city ruins that I have. Here's some cool stuff to go with it. That kind of looks like the head that has a axe or whatever in it from the objective marker set. But yeah, on the whole, like, honestly, is this specific set the bee's knees? Probably not, honestly, but it's a completely modular thing that can be built onto. And so when you combine this with, say, all the Warcry terrain we saw from that preview a while back, now we're cooking with fire, because that's a lot of stuff. Because that one had gantries and walkways and arches, and you can kind of create multi-level things. So I think when you combine those sets, then now, that's a jump start into having awesome terrain. So that was a whole lot of talking about Warhammer Fest and Forbidden Power. So tell me if you have a question for me, because I'm actually going to hop off here in about 10-15 minutes. I just wanted to chat with the news a little bit. If you have a question for me, go ahead and ask it now. And be sure, like always, to write the word question first so I can see it. But in the meantime, I'm just going to take a look at this paint set again. Contrast paints. What I'd love, I'm just going to ramble while you guys ask me questions, but one thing that me and Brent from Whirling Ones both agreed on, because he owns Character Overlords and so do I, this one right here, which is called Ethermatics Blue or something like that, it gives you that kind of blue glow effect from the ship's engines and that kind of stuff. That's a no-brainer. That's going to happen. Like, it just looks great. Beyond that, ones that really stand out, I'm interested to see how the black works, because black is a hard thing to highlight. So if you're talking about black paint that's one coat and does the recess shading and the base color at the same time, like that's an accomplishment if it happens. So what else? The yellow I'm interested to see. Yeah. Jonathan Lowe, question: do you think Seraphon will get a battle tome before the new General's Handbook? I think they're going to get one soon, but not before the new General's Handbook. If you think about whenever they do these pre-release things, or like when they show you what's coming down the pipeline, those are the next things that come out. Meaning, if it wasn't shown at this, if it wasn't previewed here, it's not on the docket to come out for the next probably 3 months or so. That would be my answer. I think the furthest thing out we know is Sylvaneth, because we weren't supposed to know about that. So my assumption, it goes Forbidden Power is the next big release. Maybe I'm trying to think. I don't think they showed anything else yet. So that, and then General's Handbook, maybe Sylvaneth after that, and after that, I don't know. So, but we do know that Sylvaneth are most likely the next one. But there's been no previews for Seraphon officially, which is a bummer because I like Seraphon. Let's see. Culture, you can find some videos out there, people using the paints already if you want to. Okay, I'll check that out later. Any thoughts on the line from Underworlds? I think it's going to be a Elven faction. Definitely from Hysh, Realm of Light, because that paint scheme matches all the other Hysh things we've seen in other books, like Beast of Chaos, like their scheme from Hysh, that kind of stuff. As far as what the meaning of the lion is, I can think of like the white lions of Trace, like what are they called? Lions something. What are those called? I can't think of what they're called now. The white lion warrior dudes. Elves. Okay, lions. Where are they? Well, okay, yeah, just the white lion guys. There's the white lion chariot. But I don't know. If they redid this with like a Hysh scheme, that'd be kind of cool. But I don't think it's going to be like an Elven release. I think it's going to be a Underworld warband that might be inspired by something like that. Lion Rangers. Thank you so much, Jack. So yeah. But I think they might introduce Hysh first in Underworlds and then do a battle tome later on. Oh, Stone, do you still have your Slaves to Darkness? Nope, I actually sold those off. I put those on eBay, and a very generous gentleman bought them off me and messaged me and was super kind about it. He just wanted to support the show, didn't like Patreon, but so he put up some very supportive coin and helped me out, and that was awesome. So that money's going straight into plane tickets to go to Nova. Nathan Fee, question: do you think Soulblight vampires could be a battle tome for Death? Someone at the seminar said each Grand Alliance was getting one more book this year. They said at least one more book, so there are Grand Alliances that are getting more than that. It's not to say that there's only 4 more books for AOS coming out this year. Certainly. So what the point is, that means there's one more Death book. When all of the current Death factions are already accounted for, I would love a Soulblight battle tome. I think that would be awesome. What I don't want, and here's the predicament they put themselves in with Legions of Nagash. Nighthaunt is fun and awesome, and everyone should play Nighthaunt because it's cool. The problem is that many of the units in Nighthaunt just strictly work better in Legions of Nagash because of the way that they wrote those books and how those units interact with one another. And I don't like that. Like, I don't know why I don't like that so much. It just seems like a bummer. So my point is, I don't want Soulblight to come out and then Legions of Nagash just be a better Soulblight, or Soulblight just be a better Legions of Nagash. I don't know. So I think they need to do some rebalancing on that front. But yeah. But I would love it. I would genuinely love it if Soulblight came out and they had like nods to the old world, Vlad and Isabel, that kind of stuff. So that'd be cool. AOS Coach. Hello, AOS Coach. I was just watching your Stormcast content. Which ally do you think Nagash will call upon for the next wave of Death? Oh, yeah, same question. Definitely Soulblight. I think he would call in all the cockroaches who have been using death magic without paying him a debt. I think, and that's how I think of vampires in this kind of current age. You're using the death magic, but if you're not fighting for Nagash specifically, you're just, I don't know, a cockroach. Yeah. Let's see. Sam, question: what point changes do you think we'll see in GHB? Hopefully, Cellstar Ballistas go up. That's all I got. I'm not a competitive guy. I don't really gripe about point changes and that kind of stuff. That's the only one where I look at a unit and I'm like, there's just something went terribly wrong. But yeah, that's it. Sam Cook, Doug sold an army? Yes. Yeah, I do it all the time. Like I breathe. Let's see. How many of the at least one more will be Stormcast battle tomes? I don't know. I don't know if they're going to do a Stormcast battle tome. I mean, I'm actually sitting here and there's, do this downward cam. Everything off to the side of the screen here, there's 1,000 points of Celestial Vindicator sitting right there, looking fine as always. But that being said, I'm not sure if they're really a Stormcast battle tome this year. I don't want it to be like in a rut where there's always one battle tome for the main army every single year. That'd be kind of lame. But yeah, I don't know. They just need some point adjustments and that kind of stuff. Let's see here. It's just the one dumb rule from the starter set that says Nighthaunt can be in Legions of Nagash. Yeah, but they need to reel that in. That's my opinion. Some people don't care about it. That's fine. Question: with the brief tease of Nagash trying to free one of his buddies from the Storm Vault, who do you think it is most likely? One of the End Times Mortarchs. Yeah, so if you don't know, during the events of the End Times, there were a bunch of Mortarchs. He had a whole little entourage, not just the 4 that there are now. That'd be kind of cool. Any single time this kind of stuff happens, like Cetra's brought up, I don't know. I don't know what he could be searching for. I'm not quite sure, but it's an interesting idea. Let's see. Death in general needs a rebalance. I tend to agree, not because they're sweeping the meta and winning everything. I just frankly don't find them fun to play against, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. Let's see. Okay. Well, friends, as I get slowing down, I'm going to hop off and go cook some dinner with my lovely wife. We're going to hang out and have a great time. So thank you all so much for joining me. I just wanted to cover this and talk about it because these are all things that I'm getting excited for. I'm very excited for the contrast paints to see how they work. And I'm also excited for the General's Handbook. I'm actually extremely excited for that. More so than Forbidden Power, I'll be honest with you. We weren't teased enough about what that box is for, or building it up enough to really get like me super pumped for it. But go ahead and get excited for it. It's up on pre-order next week. So anyway, thank you all so much for joining me, and I will talk to you real soon. This week I'm going to be doing a whole bunch of live shows as I try to get an army painted before the next Battle Tome releases, because I've had zero time to do any kind of painting. So I'll be showing off painting and doing live shows and hanging out with people a lot this week. So thank you all so much. I'll talk to you soon.